Hi, I'm Ron Halbritter, Technical Advisor for Legendary Auto Interiors, and I'd like to welcome you to Legendary Studio, where today we're going to show you the proper way to install our 1971-72 Oldsmobile Cutlass seat covers, and we're going to show you right from the beginning, putting all of our burlap and our prep work, our installation kit 3, which includes our burlap, our seat kit, our paper-coated listing wire, our 2-inch felt, a dust mask, and the cotton that goes underneath our foam too, as well as installing our foam and our seat cover. So together today with Randy Brown, we're going to show you why Legendary Auto Interiors is #1 with collectors, restorers, and enthusiasts worldwide.
Our first step, we need to set a layer of burlap over the top of the seat springs and secure it in place. You want to hog ring through the burlap and around the seat springs. Now you want to anchor it in the back. You want to cut some sections out so the burlap doesn't bunch up. Pull some tension on the burlap and attach it around the outside perimeter by folding it over the edge of the seat frame and hog ringing it through the burlap and around the seat frame. You want to carefully pull some tension on it. After the burlap is attached, we want to attach our 2-inch felt around the outside perimeter. This will provide some additional protection so the frame doesn't prematurely wear through the molded foam kit. On the rear corners, any sharp edges, you want to put some duct tape or some type of preventative material so the seat frame does not prematurely wear through the seat cover. Now in the General Motors seats, underneath the molded foam has a layer of cotton. We want to put a generous portion, 1 layer, over the top of the burlap and carefully pull the cotton apart. You don't need to cut it with scissors. It actually pulls apart easier with your hands. Then we set our molded foam on top of the cotton. We secure our molded foam with the muslin strips that are glued to the foam kit. We want to carefully wrap the edge of the muslin over the top of the cotton and secure the molded foam kit in place by hog ringing through the muslin and around the seat springs. After the back edge and the front edges are complete, you want to move off and finish on the side edges. And be careful around the corners. You want to attach the molded foam by wrapping the muslin over the top of the cotton and securing it to the lower portion of the seat springs. You want to make sure that the bunches do not show underneath your installed seat cover. Our first step in our seat cover installation will be to take the rear stretch panel area on the back side of the insert and attach the paper-coated listing wire through the seat cover and then secure it to the seat frame. Next, you want to insert all of the paper-coated listing wire in the entire perimeter around the sides and the front edge. You can always leave a little bit extra because we can always trim that off later. You want to carefully slide open the pocket and insert the paper-coated listing wire carefully so it doesn't rip the listing pocket. And now we're ready to install our seat cover. Once the rear edge is secured, you want to come over to the front edge by turning the cover inside out and then peel the edge over the top of the molded foam. You can compress the foam, and you can kind of see Randy's actually just tugging on that corner and get it to wrap around the edge of the seat foam. And then you want to carefully work the edge of the piping over the top of the molded foam, and then you can work the vinyl with your hands so it stays secure. And you can take a general look at the seat cover before you flip it over on the bottom side and start attaching the hog rings. You want to make sure there are no wrinkles in it and make sure it looks nice and smooth. And then our next step will be to flip it over on its face and secure the very front edge, making sure it's symmetrical in between the seat rail areas. Then you want to come over to the sides, attach the rear section, and work your way around towards the front edge. You want to make sure there are no puckers in your seat cover. When you flip it over, you should have a seat cover that's about 75% finished. And if you need to go back, you can always cut those hog rings off and just follow the steps over to re-secure your seat cover. Once that's finished, we want to attach our rear stretch panel. there are two small listing areas in the back side of the insert that you hog ring around the paper coated listing wire and to the seat frame. And then we want to come over to our front edge and secure the front edge where it wraps around the seat rail area and hog ring it to the seat frame area. You'll see the seat frame has some small notches. Our final step would be to attach our stretch panel board underneath the vinyl and hog ring the seat cover to the bottom side of the seat springs. Once that is complete, we want to attach the small cups that actually surround the seat rail area. You can fold over the edges so it has a real nice, smooth, cosmetic look to it. These flaps are just to hide the seat rail area because the side plastic trim does not cover this area in the back when you're in the back seat looking towards the front seat. So we want to make sure that they're wrinkle-free. You can fold over the top edges, and there's a small hole that you hog ring through the vinyl and then through the seat rail. You want to make sure that your seat rails do not bind against this vinyl that you're hog ringing to the seat frame. Now that our bottom is finished, we want to move on to our front seat top, and just as we did on our front seat bottom, apply a layer of burlap over the face of the seat springs, securing it by pulling it towards the outside edges and hog ringing around the burlap and around the perimeter of the seat springs. And again, like we did on our front seat bottom, apply a full layer of cotton underneath our molded foam kit. We want to lay the molded foam kit over the top of the cotton, flip the seat frame over, wrap the muslin edges over the top of the molded foam kit, and secure it to our seat frame. You want to start at the top edge and tuck it underneath the back panel hooks. There are two hooks that molded foam kit needs to slide up underneath, because in order to mount that plastic seat back, you'll need to think a little bit in advance so how that plastic seat back mounts to the seat frame. After your top edge is complete, move on to the lower edge. You want to make some relief cuts so when you wrap that muslin over the top of the molded foam and the cotton, you can secure it to the seat springs. And it's a little bit easier when you get towards the outside edges. If you make a little relief cut, you can actually work that muslin up underneath the hinge and still secure it to the bottom side of our seat springs. After our bottom is complete, we want to finish it off by moving to the sides, and just like we did on our top and bottom edge, fold the muslin over the top of the cotton and secure it to the lower portion of the seat springs. After your side is complete, you want to move along to the top edge and make sure where the top edge meets the side edge, you don't have any puckers or real large wrinkles that you'll be able to see through the seat cover. You want to make it look as smooth as possible. And then after the top edge is finished, lastly, come down in the hinge area, fold the muslin underneath the hinge bracket, and secure it to the seat springs. Now we're ready to install our seat cover. We start with the seat cover turned inside out so we can position the seat cover symmetrically on our seat frame. We fold the bottom edges over the outside edges and just roll them over. You can actually work the vinyl a little bit and kind of push the padding up underneath the seat cover and tuck it down underneath the hinge and secure it. There's a 2-inch listing pocket that tucks underneath the hinge and is hog ringed through the listing and around the base of the seat springs. After your bottom corners are secure, you want to move up to our top edge and carefully roll the edge of the vinyl over the top of the molded foam. While you're rolling that edge over, you can compress the foam so the foam fills out the cover. Now you want to make sure your seat cover is symmetrically placed on top of your molded foam before you flip it over and start to attach the top edge. Now when you're attaching the top side, you want to slide it underneath the back panel hooks, because that's how your back panel attaches to your seat after your seat cover is all installed. Now you want to make sure your cover is symmetrically installed left to right, and once the top edge is complete, you want to work your way down along the bottom edge of the side skirts and secure it with a hog ring through the seat cover, and you hog ring it to the location specified on your seat frame. Now the corners where they overlap, you can actually overlap one against the other and then run a hog ring to secure it. We want to repeat the process on the opposite side. So we want to do our top edge, then we want to do our lower edge along our side skirts, attach the sides, and then attach the very bottom stretch panel last. And you see how Randy has it positioned. It's easier to pull that area of the seat cover up rather than try to work it with your hog rings and your pliers. It's a little easier to compress it while you're attaching your hog rings. Now, if at any point during your installation you want to have the professionals at Legendary Auto Interiors do the work for you, give us a call at 1-800-363-8804 or visit our website at www.legendaryautointeriors.com. Now, after our top is all installed, you want to make sure that you go through and start attaching all of your hardware. You'll see Randy's attaching all the seat bumpers. Sometimes it's a good idea to, instead of locating the holes after your seat cover is all installed, you may want to put the screw into the holes before you actually start your seat cover installation. Or if you can't remember where your hardware is attached, you may want to undo the hog rings for that rear stretch panel and flip it up so you can see the whole location. Now you see Randy's cutting the holes for the tilt forward strap that has to be bolted down to our front seat bottom. It's actually the strap that runs along the back of the front seat top where your seat release is attached. Once those two holes are cut, we can assemble our top to our bottom. We can start first by attaching the two bolts down through the tilt release strap and bolt it into our front seat bottom seat frame. Once those two bolts are attached, we can come over to our outside hinge area. Now in the outside hinge area, there is actually a bracket that holds the plastic trim on the side of the seat. So before you put those bolts in, you want to locate your plastic holding side bracket over the top of the hinge on the side, bolt it down through the bracket and down through the hinge, and then tighten the bolt through the seat frame. You'll see there's two bolts that hold the bracket and the side hinge cover in place. After the hinge bracket is bolted into place, there are two material flaps that need to be hog ringed together, and they attached to the hinge cover plastic bracket. You actually fold one against the other and then hog ring the two pieces of vinyl together through the hinge cover bracket. Now you want to repeat the process on the opposite side. It's a real good idea to hand thread the bolts in before you tighten them down. It would be a shame to get this far with your project and cross thread the bolts into your seat frame. Now you want to repeat the process on the opposite side, and you'll see any excess material is cut off. We fold one area over the side skirt over the top of the back panel and hog ring it through the hinge cover bracket. This completes your seat cover installation.
Well, hopefully this video has been very helpful for you. You can see our seat cover, all of our new padding is on. It looks fantastic. I'd like to thank all the people at Legendary Auto Interiors for making this possible. I'd like to thank Randy Brown. And you see we did the special cover for all of our troops here and abroad. For Legendary Auto Interiors, I'm Ron Halbritter. We'll see you next time.